Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining Domestic Angels today for this bite-sized session just before Christmas. And today we're delighted to have the subject of Meet the Franchisee and the wonderful Clare Waldron, who is our franchisee for Ferndown and West Moors. Clare, thank you so much for taking this time out to join us today. I know it's very, very busy with Domestic Angels at this time of year, with people having spring cleans. They don't have them in the spring, they have them in the autumn and winter. So I know you've got that going on, and you've got new clients starting and getting underway actually in the next 45 minutes. So thank you so much for stepping up, and we'll try and stick to time to keep you involved. So Clare joined us as a franchisee in 2019, towards the end of 2019, and is still here. And I take that as a massive accolade, because that is right through the pandemic, which is pretty heavy going. So maybe Clare, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you did previously.
So I have come from a childcare background. I was an early years professional for about 20 years. I had 2 childminding businesses, which I did from home, which was great when my daughter was young, because it fitted in with me perfectly. And looking after her as she got older, it sort of wasn't she didn't want to really start going to soft play anymore when she started getting older, so the age gap was a bit of an issue. So I looked into doing something different, and I found Domestic Angels online, and I inquired, and it just sounded perfect for me, just for my situation and everything that I wanted to do. It was just ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. Clare, why did you go down the franchise route in particular?
Because I've had other businesses before in the past, and I know what it's like starting a business from scratch, and it can be it's quite difficult to start from scratch, not having to start completely from brand new. Building yourself up and getting recognized takes a long time, and a lot of blood, sweat and tears goes into it. Being in a franchise, I chose a franchise because you are already going into a team. I had absolutely no idea about cleaning or anything about the business or how to employ people, so I knew that I'd get all that support. And also you're buying into a name that's already well established and is already well known, so you already sort of jump up the queue against your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything more you wanted to add to that? No, that's a great answer. I think it's a great answer. So okay, so you made this decision, which clearly I think is a great decision, and I am so chuffed to have you as a franchisee, because you've survived and thrived through the pandemic and shown, which means that the business model has been tested in its worst possible scenario with all of that lockdown, and you're here and you're hitting targets and achieving at a very high level now. Has being a Domestic Angels franchisee changed your life in a good way?
It has. Obviously, but going through starting it just before the pandemic wasn't ideal, but coming through it and coming out of it, I think it's been great. I'm like, this is just the working from home and the everything that I'm doing sort of my end is just, it's so perfect for me. I'm great at organizing people. I've got a great team of staff. I've got a really good big client base now. I get to work from home. I get to give my daughter some attention. I get to walk the dog when I want to, and it just fits in with my life so perfectly. It's a great work-life balance, definitely.
And the money?
Yeah, it's good. Yes, it's good. Yeah, it's good. It feels like, yeah, it feels like you're getting money for not as much hours as you would work normally. So yes, and definitely, and the prospect of it just increasing is obviously great.
That's a very interesting answer, actually. I think we might pocket that one and work on that one a little bit. do you think is the most important piece of advice you could give to somebody who's looking to buy either their first franchise or buy a Domestic Angels franchise? Invest in, I should use invest in. Now, David has actually pulled me up on this in the past. David Holland, hello, welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Good morning from Luxembourg.
David is part of the senior management team based in Luxembourg, so thank you very much for taking this time. And also, if I could extend an extra welcome to Liz Povey, who is also part of the senior management team and our first contact in terms of taking care of people coming into the business and business development. So yes, David has pulled me up on this before. And I think it's just a habit that we all have of saying buy when we mean invest, because it is an investment to take on board a franchise, because you get the franchise back. You get the investment back when you decide to move on from the contract. So what would you say your top tip, your most invaluable piece of advice is to somebody who's considering buying a franchise and B, possibly looking to join Domestic Angels?
I would say, I think pick a territory. I think picking your territory, that for me was, I had a couple of areas that I really looked into taking on, and I think picking a territory is quite important. Also, I think just do it. I think just go ahead and do it, because you're sort of almost guaranteed for it to succeed, because Domestic Angels won't let you not succeed, so it's almost guaranteed that you are going to do really well.
Are you saying I'm insistent and stubborn and I don't like people to get involved with
No, you're very supportive.
Thank you, I'll take that. That's a nicer word than persistent and stubborn, but actually having people on board who are going to succeed is really, really important to me, because Claire, your success is my success. If you weren't succeeding, that I would lose sleep at night, and I am not in business to lose sleep at night. I know some people get a kick out of that. I don't. I'm only in this because people like you are growing, flourishing, doing a great job, giving good service to the community, giving employment to people who otherwise probably wouldn't have employment as well, because it is a specialist area. And also all the things you described that you get as a benefit for being a Domestic Angels franchisee. It's fascinating actually to hear your responses today. We should have talked about this before. This is quite interesting. So here's another, in your opinion, okay?
Yeah.
In your opinion, what makes a great franchisee?
Somebody with good people skills, good at organizing. You don't necessarily, I had no cleaning experience myself. I've sort of learned as I've gone along. It's all worked out quite well. Organization skills, I think that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because from our point of view, we're looking for people with strong organizational skills and strong customer service skills, because those two things combined together really make a very magic solution. And quite often people have got those skills in bucket loads, but they're not used specifically to generate profits. And within Domestic Angels, that is possible. What plans have you got for the future going forward? So you're 2019, 2020, where are we? So you're 2 years down the line now since you joined us. And I have to look at the date and say, where are we? Because lockdowns have caused me to lose all reference marks in the calendar in my mind. I can't remember what happened before this or that or the other, you know? So you know, like you said, well, that was before I went on holiday and that was after I went on holiday. There's been none of that going on. So it's been 2 years now. What are your plans going forward?
I'm planning to grow the business, obviously, as much as I can. I've got one of my angels is now going to start taking over some of the admin for me and going out and doing surveys, just so as I'm getting bigger. it just takes off a bit of pressure from me, and she can do a bit more admin, which she is looking forward to doing. And then
and a survey is when you go out to meet a client to find out what their needs and expectations are.
Yeah, to give a quote.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so just keep growing.
Yeah, just keep growing.
Keep growing and coming more and more back from the business by having the angels take up the administration and day-to-day running.
Yeah.
Okay, all right then. Right, I've referenced the pandemic a few times because it's so relevant to your story in particular, because it hit like within 4 months of you getting underway. Didn't really give you a huge chance to get your self established, and so you had to pick up the pieces from there. And we were all thrown into uncertain times in business, and that's across the country, not just for us. But I'd be really interested to hear from you, Claire. What sort of support do you feel that you got by being a franchisee during uncertain times? So when the going gets tough, what happened?
Well, as we went into lockdown, I wasn't really sure. I was just starting, so I was just getting my legs on the ground, just building up a good client base. But the lockdown hit, so most of the clients sort of paused their cleaning. The support that we got from you guys was sort of wording to email out to the customers to reassure them, take appropriate safety measures. Then we started up our Zoom meetings, which none of us had ever done before, and that's actually still carried on now to this day. We still do have a Monday Zoom meeting, which is really helpful because it just keeps you in the loop with everybody else. We all get to discuss things together, and it's just nice because you feel like you're actually part of a team rather than going it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was got to be one of the big advantages of being part of a franchise network, is you are part of a team, and you know, we express ourselves in our own culture, and for us that does mean there's the opportunity of having the weekly Monday morning get together where we're asking, you know, where are you at, how are your clients, how are your staff, and talk about some really interesting details quite often about how your angels are coping or what's happening, because that way we're able to share experience with you. Because at the end of the day, Domestic Angels has been running since 2002. It's only converted to franchise in 2017. So there is all of that experience, 15 years worth of experience about how to run the business there, ready for you to tap into. And I think I always find it interesting. You know, keeping in touch with that coalface is really good for me. But also when you say things like, heard that before, seen that before, I know exactly where that's going to go. And it's good to be able to support, but it's also good for the team to hear what's happening, and also to hear your news each week, like a couple of new clients, new staff, or all of those kinds of, putting it all into the pot for sharing, I think is fantastic. David, I'd like to bring you in, if you don't mind, here. Okay, so David Holland is part of the senior management team with Domestic Angels based in Luxembourg. David, you've been a franchisee and a franchisor.
Yep.
Could you share some experience in this? Because this is Meet the Franchisee, which we have at real live Clare. But from your point of view, having been a franchisee, you liked it so much, became a franchisor. What could you add to the answers that Claire has given today?
I think the thing, and this is generally for me, this is a sort of a personal thing I do find shows up for people in business and franchisees as well. I've run my own businesses before we bought a franchise. We were in transport and distribution, and anybody, and Brian, I'm not sure what your experience or background is, but running your own business can be a lonely old place, because you're sat there by yourself at 3 o'clock in the morning doing your cash flow forecast, and that's it. There's nowhere to go. What I found with the franchising was there were, you know, systems and models and principles and proven techniques, as Claire was saying. But the thing that really I was most impressed with was that sense of community spirit. You know, there was always a group or a team or communication. You could pick up the phone to another franchisee, you'd meet at a conference, you could talk to franchisor. And I think that was the thing that was so, you know, so powerful for me as part of the franchising. And I didn't realize that until I'd jumped into the franchise. I didn't realize how important that was. I'd run my own businesses for a long time, but having that team, I guess, team spirit was one of the key things for me, at least. Yeah.
Okay. So Liz, when you're chatting to people who are taking an interest in going into business, what is it that strikes you as being the nugget, the golden moment where you go, that's somebody I would want to do business with?
I think you can hear the motivation in their voice sometimes. I've spoken to so many people now, and you get it from the word, you know, the first sort of sentence. You can tell enthusiasm. You can hear it in their voice. You can feel that they are probably quite self-motivated by the very thought that, you know, that because they're kind of interested in the franchise, they are obviously motivated to run their own business, but possibly need that extra support. So it's definitely feeling that motivation and hearing that enthusiasm. And then obviously, as you go further along the line, you find that, like Claire says, you find that they're good organisers, they are good with people. And that's another thing, you know, when you are talking to these people on the phone, if you get the feeling that they can't even talk to you on the phone, then they're not likely to be able to talk to their customers, their clients, or their angels, or, you know, their staff. So you kind of get that feeling straight away.
Yeah. Okay. Claire, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's just, I think, people skills. I think one of my strengths is how I speak to people and how I deal with certain situations. I've gone from having like no staff to 6 in a couple of years and through a pandemic. So and all my staff tend to stay with me, and it's because how I speak to them and how I treat them. And it's any time that they've done, if I get a compliment from a client, I just pass that on and always remind them how well they're doing and sort of praise them a lot. And I think that just makes them want to work.
So that's interesting you said about having 6 staff. So you don't actually need that many staff in order to create a super successful business?
No.
And not be on the tools?
Yeah.
Incredible. Very interesting. Liz,
how long was it, Claire, until you could actually take your, you know, you stopped actually cleaning yourself? Was it quite a quick process for you?
I chose myself. This was a personal choice. You don't have to go down this route, but I chose myself because I didn't have any cleaning experience to start the business and build clients up doing all the cleaning myself. I wanted to learn on the job. I wanted to learn what people's expectations were and standards, and then so I could pass that on to staff when I finally got to a place where I could have a member of staff. I've been sort of on and off. I tend to cover a lot of people. I tend to cover girls if they've left, or if they're off ill, or if they've taken holiday. But it's been probably the last 3 months I've been completely off and taken a proper step back, and I've now got enough angels, and now I can sort of move people around and get people covered, and I've got somebody with a spare day in the week which I keep for end of tenancies. So it's just worked out like that, and that's how I've done it. So she knows that she's got that day. If any end of tenancies come up, then I can put her to there as well, because I used to help out with those as well.
Yeah, but you said that's your choice. You decided that that would be the spirit of your character to create a leadership style in that way. Not all franchisees want to go on the tools, and it is not compulsory. I certainly didn't do it, but that doesn't mean that somebody else would or wouldn't. And that's kind of a nice thing, is we've been able to support you and your individual vision of your business culture and how that would evolve.
Yeah.
Liz, have you got any questions for us?
No, not there's no questions been submitted. Have we covered this? Oh, Claire, was it quite easy to build a good team? Did you find it quite difficult to find your 6 girls, or was that something that was, you know, quite easy for you to do? When
recruiting would probably have been my biggest challenge. I'm quite particular on the type of person that I would want to work for us. And you do tend to go through a few people till you find that one, but when you do find that one, they end up being really good. And I think I've only had one angel leave so far since I've been with us. So once they come on board, they normally tend to stay.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
Okay. Right. David, do you have any questions that you can think of to ask Claire that our audience might be interested in hearing the answers to?
Yeah, I think so, and this is probably for Brian's purposes. If you as a new franchisee coming into Domestic Angels, what are the top 3 questions that a potential franchisee should ask? Do you think, given your experience, what questions should a potential franchisee ask now? No pressure, you see, no pressure.
What questions should a new franchisee ask?
Yeah, what should they be thinking about? What should they be sort of sorting out before they make the decision, do you think?
I think everybody's completely individual, though. I think it's all a personal choice, and it depends. I'd be asking about the business, how we'd run it, how they would want to run it. There's quite like I've done, could be lots of different ways that you can manage it and run it. You can do it completely different to me. So I guess that would be a personal question for each individual, I would say.
Okay.
Great. Right. Brian, as you are online with us at the moment, what I'll do is I'll just wrap this section up and bring the recording to a close, and then we can have a personal and private session of Q&A with Brian if he so wishes. So thanks ever so much for joining me for the recording today. Our next bite size is at 12:30 on the 6th of January, and we're going to talk money. We're going to talk about what the investment is, how to source the investment, and the return on the investment. So thank you very much. I'll find the stop recording button. Where is it? Can anybody tell me? It's Go on, David, tell me where it is. I know I saw it earlier. Oh, there it is at the top.